I'm going to start and you're going to jump into it. What do we want to do here? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Jasodanandana Vajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Vajajana Ranjana Chamunitira Vanatari Chamunitira Vanatari Tira Vanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Jasodanandana Vajajana Ranjana Chamunitira Vanatari Tira Vanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Bo Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Bo Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Bo Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Bo, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Vishnupat Paramahansa Pariva Jagatacharya Satat Shishmanis Divine Grace Abhay Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON BBT founder Charya Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Gaura Vaishya Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Shri Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Gita Govardhan Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Mathura Dham Ki. Vrindavan Dham Ki. Dwarka Dham Ki. Navadi Dham Ki, Jagannapuri Dham Ki, Jamuna Maya Ki, Ganga Maya Ki, Tulsi Maharani Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Sambhira Bhakti Vinda Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Siddhara Girira Ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki, Gopremanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to divine Lotus Sita, Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Something sounds weird about this mic. Like there's too much treble or there's too loud. I don't think it's entirely that. I think some other setting is strange. Tapas to the rescue. Once again. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate. Now it's off. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna Sadamo Bhagate Dharmaganadi Bisaha Kalaunasa Dashamesha Parano Konadotata Narayana Namaskricha Naram Shaivam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. The Bhagavata, thank you, Tapas. Good. Thanks. The Bhagavatam is written as the sun. It's written just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who've lost their vision to the dense darkness of the age of Kali should get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, we should first offer our respects to the personality of Godhead Narayan, the Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, the goddess of learning, Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. So we are on Canto 5, Chapter 18, Text 23, I think, or 20. We'll find out. All right. I think it's actually 24. But hold on, let's get it going here. And we're going to do 2 verses. We are the... Okay, let's see what's up. Okay, Dravida Prabhu, you chant the Sanskrit, or the prose, and then I'll do the translation.
Ramyake cha bhagavatak priyatamam matsyam avatara rupam tadvarsha purusasya manoho prakpadarshitam sa idanim apimahata bhakti yoge naradyatidam chodaharati.
And although we're not chanting it, just the vibration. Tamal Krishna always told me that he was with Prabhupada in Japan for Janmashtami.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, in those days, of course, it's always a little bit of a strain to fast. So, and Prabhupada was just, because there wasn't many devotees, and then Prabhupada was going to speak, you know, just before midnight. So for about 3 hours, Prabhupada they were reading Krishna book. And Prabhupada would read, Tamal would read, Prabhupada would read. And by 11 o'clock, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was falling asleep. So Prabhupada said, that's all right. And Prabhupada just began chanting the verses from the Bhagavatam, reading the 10th canto Bhagavatam, his big Bhagavatam. And then Tamal kept falling asleep. And Prabhupada said to him, he said, that's all right. Just hearing the sound vibration is purifying. So we should chant the verses. So here's the English. And we're not going to do the word for word because we'll do the word for the other one. Shukadeva Goswami continued. In the Ramyaka Varsha, where Vaivashata Muni rules, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as Lord Matsya at the end of the last era, the Jakshushmanvatara. Vaivashata Manu now worships Lord Matsya in pure devotional service and chants the following mantra. So now we're going to chant that mantra. Dravida Prabhu, take it away.
Om Namo Bhagavate Mukhitamaya Namak Sadvaya Pranaya Aujase Sahase Balaya Mahamatsyaya Nama Iti.
So the word for word, I'll just read because you guys don't have it. Om, O my Lord, Namaha, respectful obeisances, Bhagavate, under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mukhitamaya, the first incarnation to appear, Namaha, my respectful obeisances, Satvaya, unto the pure transcendence, Pranaya, the origin of life, Ojase, the source of the potency of the senses, Sahase, the origin of all mental power, Balaya, the origin of all bodily strength, Mahamatsyaya, unto the gigantic fish incarnation, Namaha, respectful obeisances, iti, thus. And the English, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is pure transcendence. He is the origin of all life, bodily strength, mental power, and sensory ability. Known as Matsya Avatara, the gigantic fish incarnation, he appears first amongst all incarnations. Again, I offer my obeisances unto him. Srila Jiva Goswami sings, Pralayo Payodi Jale Dritavan Asivedam Vivita Vihitra Charitam Makedam Keshavadrita Mina Sarira Jaya Jagadish Hari. Soon after the cosmic creation, the entire universe was inundated with water. Just like use the right tool for the job, so the world's inundated with water, the whole thing is flooded. What's the most logical form to come in to deal with that? That come as a fish. So there it is. And anyway, we'll get into it in a minute. At that time, Lord Krishna, Keshava, incarnated as a gigantic fish to protect the Vedas. He took all the sages in a boat, and then this personified Vedas, and carried them, pulled the boat until the inundation, everything. And this way he saved the Vedas, saved the personified Vedas, because each of them represented, could chant, memorized, knew perfectly one of the Vedics, one of the Upanishads. At that time, that we read, therefore Manu addressed Lord Matsya as Mukhyatama, the first incarnation to appear. Fishes are generally considered a mixture of the mode of ignorance and passion. But we must understand that every incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely transcendental. There is never any deterioration of the Lord's original transcendental qualities. Therefore, the word Satvaya, Sattvaya is used here, meaning pure goodness on the transcendental platform. There are many incarnations of the Supreme Lord. Varaha Murti, the boar form. Kurma Murti, the tortoise form. Hayagriva Murti, the form of a horse, and so on. Yet we should never think of any of them as material. They are always situated on the platform of Suddha Sattva, or purified goodness. Om Agena Tamarandasya Agena Gena Salakaya Chakshushimlitam Gena Tasmade Shri Gurave Namaha. So the Prabhupada said, once you accept the unlimited mystic power of the Lord, everything becomes logical. So we're not interested in a halfway God. Well, God can do this, but he can't do that. I mean, that's just, then what does it mean? If God is all-powerful, it means he can do anything. It's just by definition. And if we think about it for a moment, it's the famous either-or question. Either it all happened by chance, or it happened by design. Now, we'll get to that in a second. But if it happened by design, then that means behind it is intelligence. Oh well, let's go this place first. If we step back, they try to define the supreme. If they accept, first, some group says it's just all random chance, which you can poke holes in a million different ways. If it happened by chance, the basic principle of scientific investigation is that you study how things are going on, you come up with a hypothesis, you test your hypothesis, and it can be repeatedly tested. Anyone who follows the same process will get the same result. Therefore, you've established a truth. So, if we just study, can anyone give me an example of where there is, out of chaos, there is spontaneous order develops? Can you give me a single example in your personal life? Anybody do that? Where did these benches appear from? Did they just pop out of nowhere? No. Joseph gave a very kind donation, and Jamuna executed it. Somebody built them, and lo and behold, somebody picked the colors for the cushions. And lo and behold, there they are. So things don't. Where do you want to go? So, if we just, without filtering or predisposition, if we just look out wherever we see order, chaos, design, pattern, symmetry, there's intelligence behind it. And if anybody can come up with an example where that isn't, lay it on me. I'm ready. Therefore, what is logical? They're just beginning to find out in climatology how the air moves, and there's all kinds of rivers and currents. They always knew the Gulf Stream was there, this and that. But just the way the air circulates around the earth, and how it affects the tides, how it affects so many different things. There was a guy, and his name is, he's an Indian. He's going to get he's going to get a Nobel Prize somewhere along the line. And he said just the air circulation is more around the earth is more complicated than the blood circulation in the body. And how the body, just any unit you look at the body. The further they look at it, the more bewildered they are. The more complex. They used to think a cell was just more or less a Ziploc bag with some saline solution and amino acids floating around in it. And now it's just, how does it do what it does? That's just a single cell, and how many cells make up your body? I said this the other day. You know, the doctor I go to, you know, my heart doctor, gives, there's a certain thing. Well, it's the kidney doctor, actually, isn't it? And, well, I'll just say this. He gave me a particular medicine, and my kidney greatly improved. And he said, I said, how does that work, doc? How does that actually? He said, to tell you the truth, this medicine was developed for epilepsy. And we just found out as a sidelight that it has a profoundly beneficial effect on the functions of the kidney. So we don't have the slightest idea. He's a nice guy, actually. He said, we don't have the slightest idea why it actually works. He said, you know, I'll get the, you know, the 30-page, you know, in Lancet, which is that big medical review, you know, magazine or whatever it is. I'll get a 30-page article, and the conclusion is, actually, we don't really know. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, you know. So that's just one organ in my body. So the whole thing is just, so if we accept that there's an intelligence behind this material nature, someone who created this amazingly complex cells and bodies and cosmos, just absolutely mind-blowing. If we accept that there's an intelligence behind it, an intelligence means personality. Now, whether that personality has form or is formless, that's another thing. But at least that intelligence behind it, intelligence means person. So if we accept that, then why can't, what is the nature of a miser?
Penny pitcher.
Penny pincher. That's good. But by general definition, what does a miser have?
Everything.
Tons of money. Let's just go with the money side. He's got, because he can be ugly, he may not have beauty. But a miser has tons of money. But what distinguishes a miser from another rich person with tons of money? Not greedy. He doesn't spend it. You know, you find these geezers who die and they find that there was $5 million in stock, you know, stuffed in their mattress or whatever it was, and the guy's living on one chickpea a day or living in a hovel somewhere, you know. You hear about it. So, and you think, geez, what a waste. Give it to us. We'll know how to use it. Devotees know how to use it. So the point is that if you have a supreme person who has the potency and has done it to create amazingly complex, mind-blowing, powerful things, the body, the cell, the cosmos, so many things, and he doesn't show it. He doesn't, you know, he's an old man who throws thunderbolts and he's usually in a pretty bad mood. Like his shoes are too tight or something, you know. And what is the opulence? You know, so the real logical, because we're saying Krishna comes as a giant fish and saves the Vedas. He comes as a boar and saves the earth. He comes as a half man, half lion. You can go to South India where, anyway, you know, the size of Lord Nrsingadev, how he expanded to Indian. Yeah, that actually makes sense. It's not wishful thinking or fantasy. Oh, you've gone a step too far. I mean, okay, he creates and maintains the world, all right. Makes some angels, makes us. Has a place with pearly gates and lots of harp music, okay, fine. But a fish, a horse, a Lord boar, no way. That's not logical. The consistent theme, the consistent thread is that an intelligence that can create this does not keep it all locked up and doesn't show it, but shows it, manifests it. God should be absolutely amazing. You know, Prabhupada says that when he thinks of himself as a royal prince, then he becomes, Krishna in Dwarka. When he thinks of himself, so we think of something, we dream at night that we've won the lottery or that, whatever, that I'm president of the United States or and then you wake up and you're in your little hovel in your little pigeonhole in a skyscraper building or whatever it is, So we have a dream. We have a daydream and a night dream, which actually has no substance. But when Krishna dreams, when Krishna thinks, it becomes a whole pastime, it becomes a whole leela, it becomes a whole wave of ecstatic events. That's Krishna. That's God. So that's one thing. The other thing, a takeaway from this, whoa, where's a clock? All we got is this little dinky one. We got to invest in a bigger clock. All right, we'll try it that way. One takeaway is that, and Prabhupada describes it in the purports, that Krishna is present everywhere. Oh, let's do this. Let's say, okay, because there's design, order, pattern, symmetry, there's intelligence behind it. And if we look at it, people say, if there's God, why doesn't he just come down here and straighten everything out? You can just knock a few heads together, sort it out. Why? Because there's this purpose of this world. This world is a schoolhouse, jailhouse. And the sufferings of this, Prabhupada says, the sufferings of this world. Because there's a design, there's a purpose. That purpose is that we're not meant to enjoy. So the suffering of this world, Prabhupada calls it, behind the pain and difficulty of this world is the benevolent, therapeutic hand of the Supreme Lord. I'm going to say it again. Behind the suffering of this world is the benevolent, therapeutic hand of the Supreme Lord. Well, what about cancer? What about this? What about, how in the world is the benevolent hand of the Supreme Lord? Because we have a misunderstanding of what this world's all about. I used to love it when we had a substitute teacher at school. I mean, not only because you goof on them and make their life miserable, but generally speaking, with a substitute teacher, their job was just to keep you from killing each other and, destroying the classroom. They just gave you busy work. Generally, there was a lesson plan, but generally speaking, busy work. So if God just parks us in some distant corner of the world and lets us just run on. You've seen those when you fan out from the Milky Way. We are in a tiny, you can't even measure it. This planet Earth is an insignificant, infinitesimal speck in a remote corner of just this one universe. And this universe is compared to one mustard seed in a giant bag of mustard seeds. So Krishna could just park us. We're nothing but trouble. We're envious. Why God? Why not me? I want to be dancing with the gopis. Okay, fine. Just park us somewhere. Leave us to our own devices, as they say. But Krishna doesn't do that. There's a design, there's a pattern, and therefore there's a purpose. And that purpose is to rectify us, to remedy us. Krishna does not give up. They call it, there's a famous, well, I don't know how famous it is, but there's a book, 1984. Anyway, and it's talking a brave new world and all that kind of stuff. And, well, I'm a little bit afield. But the point is that love in the material world has a breaking point. Either it breaks by time, or if you've got somebody who's a tough love, you got a drug addict's son who breaks into your house and sells your TV set and steals your wallet, steals your car, you're sleeping, pulls out your gold fillings. What do you need? There comes a point that what do? You change the locks. You know, tough luck. No more money. If I'm cutting you off, you're on your own, buddy, until you realize, you know, come to your senses. So if you figure that we've been Krishna's Govinda, Gopal, he loves cows. Goloka Vrindavan. And we've been eating cows lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. On the average cow, Trivita Prabhu, how many hairs on the average cow? Yeah, help him out. He works hard, so he's tired. How many hairs? It says in the Puranas, Padma Purana, that you have to take birth for every hair on the body of a cow. And do we know how many hairs are on a body of a cow? Per square inch. Close. In Dairyman's magazine, there is such a thing, comes out monthly. There was an advertisement for a herbal or whatever it is. You scrub down your cow, it gets rid of all the parasites and bugs and this and that and cleanses them. They like it. You get a big brush and a bucket, scrub them down. It's like, scratch my back. They love it. So it said in there, on the average cow, you want to guess how many hairs are on a cow per square inch? Don't Google it. No, don't go. I know what it is. Anybody know? Close. 2,000 hairs per square inch. Sarvabhuta did the math one time. He figured out the circumference of a cow, your average cow. How many square inches? It's billions of hair. So we've been killing billions of cows. And Krishna's Govinda, Gopal, he lives in Goloka, all cow. Does there come a point, back to tough love, that Krishna says, enough, I'm parking you in a remote corner and you're on your own? No. Because the premise was, why doesn't Krishna just come and straighten it out? He does. He comes again and again. What does it say? Like waves of the ocean. Nobody can count the waves of the ocean, but Krishna's incarnations are like the waves of the ocean. He never gives up on us. And he comes as a fish, he comes as a boar, he comes as a tortoise, he comes as Buddha, he comes as Nrsingadev. Again and 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 again. He never gives up. Therefore, the takeaway from these different, why are we reading about all these different, what they're praying on the different planets and all that? Because the protam and otam, what is it? Like pearls on a thread. Protam and otam is the warp and woof. You ever seen a oriental rug? You know, beautiful pattern, right? Flip it over. What do you see on the back of that thing? We got any weavers amongst us? There's a warp and a woof. There's they got the threads going like this, and you run the threads through, and that makes the thing strong, and that holds the that warp and woof, protam and otam means warp and woof, actually sustains the pattern. I did this one time. My brother and me, as my father said, two half-wits make a nitwit, or fool number one, fool number two. My great aunt, it's a long story, but they had a bunch of rugs that he was the chief of the CIA in Iran. There it is. He's dead, gone. Who knows where he is now. But he came back with a bunch of Persian rugs, and they were antiques. And one of them was a little frayed. My mother is chit-chatting with her aunt. And my brother and I, hey, what happens if you pull that thread? I don't know, let's try it. You know what happened? We pulled that one white thread that was part of the warp and the woof, and then we unraveled, because as soon as you pull that thread out, all you have is the colored yarn. That thread is what's holding the yarn that makes the pattern. The perfection, there's like how many counts? A first-class Oriental rug, I think they call it, it's got 200 counts. That's how many knots per square inch that make a beautiful design in it. And the perfection is you don't even see the white threads, the warp and the woof. You flip it over, you can see it on the back. But on the front, you don't see it at all. But without it, the whole thing unravels. So Krishna is sustaining, just like you don't see him. The perfection of Krishna's mastery is that we don't see him doing everything. But it's all, just like the Oriental rug, it's all going on and sustained by Krishna. And he's trying again and again, if the purpose of this world, back to the beneficial therapeutic hand. Well, I don't see the beneficial therapeutic hand of God. I see myself getting kicked like a football left and right. You know, the old saying, if it's not one thing, it's another. The truth is, it'll be both. We're always getting something. But it's because of a wrong expectation. What is the expectation in this world? Why is this world made? The false expectation. What should be the default mode of this material world? The materialistic default miscalculation about this world. What is it?
I am the enjoyer.
Yeah, and everything should be enjoyable. Second unto it. I'm the enjoyer and everything. There's occasional disturbances. You know, I get a toothache. The bank forecloses on my house. Whatever. We think that is an anomaly. Difficulty in this world is an anomaly. And the default mode should be enjoyable. And therefore, because that's not what it's designed for, if I try to use a hammer as a screwdriver, am I going to be frustrated?
Yeah.
Let's send a Mogalila out there. And let's give him a toothbrush to clean the patio. I mean, Amog is a surrendered soul. It's all right. Swami's finally lost his mind, but I don't want him to give me a hard time, so he's out there. I'm writing to Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. I don't know if this is the best way I should be engaged in devotional service, you know? You have to have the right tool, isn't it? And then you're not frustrated. You got the wrong tool, you're going to be completely frustrated. And if we think this body is designed for enjoyment and this material world is designed for enjoyment, then what does that mean? Will we be satisfied or will we be, and it starts with an F, frustrated. No question about it. And because we're frustrated and we want to enjoy, then we look around for somebody to blame. And who's the biggest target? Huh? Trump. Trump's a flash in the pan. And so is Biden. They're all just flash in the pan. Okay, who do we blame? We blame the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if we step back and say, wait a minute, this tool, this material nature, is not designed for me to enjoy. Actually, what is going to make me happy? You know, some of the most the more money you, there's almost a ratio. Ambarish, Alfred Ford, who's a very nice person. He's a real gentleman. I've known him for years and years. He's just a nice person. And, you know, he's given, you know, most of his fortune for building the TOVP, the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, so many things. Do you know that when he visited here to raise money for the TOVP, he secretly donated money to fix the roof on the Krishna Lounge? This is some years ago. I just found out about that from Yamuna Pati. He just quietly asked, you know, anything I can do to help? It was talking with Yamuna, perfect choice, Krishna's arrangement. He said, well, we need whatever it was. It was, I don't know what it was, $6, $7, $8, maybe even $10,000. He just quietly wrote a check, gave it to Yamuna Pati. I just found out about that about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So I was sitting at a fundraiser for, I forget what it was for, with, you know, ISKCON something. And I was sitting with Ambarish. And a devotee speaking. He was one of the, Ambarish was, you know, the guest of honor, was going to speak like that. So we were sitting at a table together, and a devotee said, you know, money can't buy happiness. And Ambarish turned to me and said, you know, people who don't have money hope that that's true. If I need money to be happy and I don't have money, well, I'm up a creek without a paddle. So we hope, you know. And then Ambarish said it, and he said it so movingly, because we're old friends. He turned to me and said, but people who have money know that that isn't true. I mean, he's got money, unlimited money. Never made him happy. Didn't make the DuPont family who lived next door, or that, you know, whoever it was, all the different, you know, Rockefellers and this and that. People who win the lottery, it was in the Massachusetts state lottery, and I don't know how much they win, but they sometimes get $30 million or whatever it is, you know. They did an interview. The Boston Globe, paper of records in the state of Massachusetts, did a study of 32 people who'd won the Massachusetts state lottery. And all but 3 of them said it was one of the worst things that ever happened to me. I lost all my old friends. I lost my bearings. You know, it went to my head. I developed a drug habit. You know, my wife got plastic surgery, dumped me, and ran off with a stockbroker. It's the worst thing that ever happened to me, you know? So, what do we want? The intrinsic nature of sugar. I blew it. Well, I can say it. What is the intrinsic nature of sugar? Way to go, Prabhu. Making sure you're awake. What's the intrinsic nature of chili? If you bite into a red chili and it's if you're a cook and you taste one of the red chilies and it's sweet and you're making the dal, what do you do? What? This isn't going to do me any good. I want a spicy chili. One time, it was pretty far out. The idea that Prabhupada's just a happy Santa pat us on the back. A devotee who made the Charnamrita got the salt and the sugar mixed up. Sugar's salt, if you ever get in this situation. Salt is a little smaller grain. It's a finer grain than sugar, just for future reference. But she put salt in the Charnamrita. And Prabhupada, this was a new dork, I was a bhakta. When Prabhupada would come greet the deities and they'd take the Charnamrita. So Prabhupada said, what is this? You know, they had Karandar taste it, and it was, salted. Prabhupada said, who has made this? It was one of it happened to be, I won't mention who, it was a devotee. And Prabhupada said, you should not be in the kitchen. You can't be in the kitchen. So Prabhupada could be heavy sometimes. But the point is that sugar's meant to be sweet. Chili's meant to be hot. That's the nature of the thing. So and that's called the dharma, or the existential essence of a thing. So what is the dharma of the jiva, of all of us? Not Dravida, not Vijay, not Balaram. We'll narrow it down to tapas. Okay. No, it's not bad. Being happy is a byproduct of understanding our actual dharmic position. It's true. On one hand, Krishna's happy. We're part and parcel of Krishna. By nature, we should be happy. But we're not hitting it now. And that's because we don't know what our dharma is. We don't know what this world is. Behind it, just to recap, there's a designer, there's a purpose. We're now thinking the purpose is to enjoy, and it's not happening, and we're frustrated and angry and blaming God and everybody else around us because it's a misunderstanding of the purpose, like trying to use a hammer as a screwdriver. So, therefore, what is the actual purpose? What is the dharma of each and every one of us? Service. Okay, but I can serve my dog. I love Krishna. I want to. Service also, of course, is a byproduct. But the fact of the matter is that I love Krishna. Why do I love Krishna? Because he's all attractive. Parikshit, when we're always looking. Who's the most beautiful? Who's the richest? Who's the most famous? Who's the most powerful? We're always comparing ourselves. We're always comparing others in the conditioned state. So if we actually, the only thing that we really want, the only thing, I should say it this way, we want so many things, but the only thing that will actually satisfy us permanently, it doesn't hit a saturation point. I like butternut ice cream or whatever. Well, 2 scoops, 3 scoops. Butternut ice cream for every meal. What's my status after a while? Oh, I'll have another scoop. You'll never again. So everything in this material world either becomes saturated. What's the time? Becomes saturated, or it becomes, it ends by time. So there's heartbreak either way. So nothing material is going to hit the spot, as they used to say about Coca-Cola. The only thing that's going to satisfy us is Krishna. And Krishna knows that. He can't help it, that he's all attractive, all famous, and that's where our love, that's who we actually love. Parikshit came out of the womb. He was examining where was that entity he saw when he was in the womb. You know, Krishna came and protected him from the Brahmastra. And he saw Krishna. And it's described in the first canto. Since birth, he was always looking, where is that beautiful personality who saved me? We're in the same boat. We're looking, where is that beautiful personality? That's really, where is that status of pure devotional service? So knowing that, we're going to wrap up here, try to pull the threads together. Knowing that the only thing that will satisfy us is Him, Krishna, and pure devotional service. How does Krishna design this world? It has a design, it has a purpose. We're thinking its purpose is enjoy, and that's not happening. Then how is this world designed? Dravida.
It's designed to frustrate our attempts to enjoy separately, but there's always a chance that we can learn the truth.
It's designed to bring us to the point of surrender. That's the purpose of this. It is the perfect, we have our free will. Just like little kids, they think they've got free will. You know, little kids are playing on the beach or they're, you know, but they're completely measured. Hey, you can't go too far, don't go in the ocean, don't, you know. Or the dog running on the leash, or, you know, even they're running free on the beach, right? You see, they're giddy with happiness, whistle from them, they got to get back. Actually, everyone is on a very short leash. Although we're thinking, so this material world, it's fantastically designed. We've got our free will, we've got our independence, we're trying to fulfill all our desires, and at the same time we're completely balanced in such a way, ultimately, the therapeutic beneficial hand of the Supreme Lord. Therapeutic means it cures a disease. Benevolent means it's well-wishing. So when we read about all these different incarnations, one of the takeaways is that Krishna is managing, Krishna is everywhere. And He's trying in every which way. Why doesn't God come and straighten it out? He is. We are so foolish and stupid and dull-headed that we can't see it. The hand right in front of our face. That Krishna is the protam and otam. He's everywhere. He's sustaining us. He's maintaining us. So as one group can't see it and is frustrated, those who do see it, everybody with a brain throughout the universe, we're going through the whole universe here. We're visiting all the different planets. And what do we find that they're doing on all auspicious planets? What are they doing? We're reading here. We go to planet A, planet B, planet C, planet D. What are they all doing? Worshipping. They're worshiping the Supreme Lord. It's only the boneheads in Kali Yuga on this remote, dank corner, you know, planet Earth. We've been stuck over here. We're the only ones who think, is there God? Or, you know, So we should become, as one set who don't accept the benevolent hand behind this, that Krishna's, when difficulty happens, Krishna's purifying me. There's a purpose. I've got my anger, I've got my ego, I've got my fear, I've got my lust. And Krishna's right in there as a surgeon working on it. Prabhupada's classic example, if I have a boil and I go to the doctor, I don't want any pain. I just put some ice on it. Just put some ice on it. Does the good doctor give you a month's supply of ice? Gives you an ice, you know, a couple of ice trays, and like the doctor, you know, take one aspirin and go home, you know, go back. Call me tomorrow. So does a good doctor just give sal? You have a big infection on your arm. That may not happen, but it's true, you have it. And you go to the doctor, and he gives you a bag of ice, says, call me in a month. Are you happy with that, doctor? Huh? What's that? No, you're not happy. Even though you bite the bullet, as they say. That actually comes from surgery, and it's a long story. So just do what you got to do. I'm going to look out the window, but do what you need them to clean it out. They got to lance it. They got to take out the infection. Nobody enjoys it. When you've got a toothache, anyone like a guy in there with a drill working on your head? Right next to your brain? Novocaine? You know? I'll tell you a joke when we're done about Novocaine. But how do you feel after you visited the doctor? When you're done with the dentist? No, terrible. Give it some time, my friend. You feel relieved. You know? So that's my simple point. That behind... Just give it time, my friend. Give it time. It's not as much as the initial pain. Okay, so the simple point is that throughout the universe, those that are pious, those that are intelligent, understand the purpose of this world for purification, and they see behind difficulty the benevolent, therapeutic hand of the Supreme Lord. And therefore they're fearless, even in the face of greatest suffering. Okay, we can end there because we're over time. Anyone have burning question? He's always got a burning question. And I respect that your intelligence is turned on. But I went over a little bit late, so I just want our unmanifest Prabhu. I'm going to end because the devotees got service to do, and we got breakfast before us. Okay, the joke. But the takeaway from this is we should be confident. Prabhupada said, you think you're sitting on the floor, I'm sitting in the hand of Krishna. Krishna's real, Krishna's there. He's interacting with the universe wave after wave at every single moment. He has a purpose, and that purpose is to save us. So not only does he have a purpose, he could have a purpose to torture us. His purpose is love and care, and therefore we should just surrender to Krishna and be fearless and confident. So that's the summation of the thing. So the joke, did you hear about the yogi? Did you hear about the yogi who went to the dentist and didn't want any Novocaine? No. He wanted to transcend dental medication. Ha ha ha. All right, well, Linda, I'll see you later, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hey, Govinda.